So, welcome to the official League of Kyle's Rivals podcast. The only podcast in the world that we figured out it's meant for 13 people, not counting us. So I guess 10 people that should go in to listen, including nine people in the league that aren't us, and Deej who left. Hey Deej, what's going on?
We could always send this to Mr. Hochberg too. Tim could have some watching.
Yeah, sure.
The more viewers, the better.
Yeah.
So we had it's year 2 of this league. If you need any sort of, that's really the only backstory you'll get. It's year 2. This is our first rookie draft, and we're all stuck home. So we said, let's do a podcast about our specific league draft. So here we are. Which, by the way, I didn't introduce anybody. Though I'm talking right now, in case you can't see the video. I'm the inaugural league champion, the reigning champ.
Yeah.
Mike Kane. Introducing the runner-up, the inaugural runner-up.
Yeah.
And then the inaugural third place finish.
The inaugural runner-up to the runner-up.
Lucha. How is everybody?
I'll do you a favor, Bruce. Okay, Mike, here is your trophy.
Oh, shit. Well, I'm not going to be able to see it, but the people can.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the trophy, which is stuck in my house because we're quarantined. Let me make sure I don't hit the ceiling with this thing.
That thing's
Here we
immense.
Here we go. And, it's actually kind of heavy, too. So this is a pretty crazy thing. But it's a nice trophy, and it'll never get to you because we're going to be quarantined forever.
Yeah, we're going to be stuck inside, and then when I do get it, I'll have to pass it off.
They're going to find it in the apartment like in fucking I Am Legend.
Yeah, right. And also, here is your championship ring, which you also can't see, but
Oh, right. I forgot they did that too.
I'm excited that I get to at least keep that.
yeah, you get to keep that forever trophy. It's been passed on, but we had some issues getting this trophy, and
Of course you did. Because you're probably the only one that ordered it, and they went, "Oh shit, someone ordered this. We gotta put it together. This isn't." I was convinced the trophy wasn't real. They were just hoping somebody would actually bite and buy it. Oh man, just build the 6-foot dick-looking thing, and we'll mail it out.
They have a little alarm that goes off. The cock trophy light is ringing.
you know what? I was actually probably their first customer, so
Yeah, I told you that months ago.
that's why they have.
So
we have a million of these things. No one ever bought them, so here you go.
yeah, so that's why we do it, and the nice cash payout that comes with winning as well. So
I thought this was a friendly league. We win units.
excuse me, sorry. Yeah, no, we don't play for money.
It's units.
Eunice?
What am I, a degenerate?
Wingdings. Sorry, that's not what it is. That's
So we had our draft. What did our draft take? Like 24 hours? Not even?
The rookie draft about 24
I
hours.
would say, yeah, it took about a day.
Yeah, there was a little bit of pause at one point because somebody fell asleep. Lucha.
Oops.
You guys were drafting at 2 in the morning.
Dude, you gotta be
I had to
committed.
sleep.
To be fair, I didn't think I was gonna get I didn't think I was gonna get my second round pick in before I went to bed. But then
I know I'm here talking shit, but I was already done with all my picks by that point.
This is true. That's what happens with trades and blah blah blah. And we certainly had some trades, man. We'll get to it. I'm just gonna start kind of going through the results of our draft, and then feel free to stop me. Well, I know where to stop early, but as we go on, feel free.
There's not much to talk about. We can put a little bit of talk into each pick. There's not much to talk at the very top.
This is true. All right, so the obvious. Now, keep in mind, this league is super flex, which means, again, if you're somehow not involved in our league, somehow listening to this, and don't know what super flex is, it gives you the option to play a second quarterback, but it's not required. However, when you want to play a second quarterback, so your rankings get fucked, and therefore the values get fucked. So it's a whole thing. But
sometimes I question if some people in our league know it's super flex yet, but it's been a whole year. But
so okay, first overall pick 1.01, our buddy Kyle. This was known for months. Joe Burrow.
Everybody's rival, Kyle.
Yes. So Joe Burrow, first overall. No secrets there.
Wait.
Yeah, it's team did it.
I mean,
he had Jared Goff as his one QB, and then maybe Nick Foles if he takes over that job. But other than that, he had nobody else. So that
No,
just
yeah.
perfect sense. I finished in last place by a mile. Joe Burrow, he announced like as soon as this season was done, or almost as soon as he clinched
He's out.
last.
And also, I'll say, stupid me. Like it definitely took me a while, especially in the startup draft, to realize the effect of Superflex. So for a little bit of time, not a long time, I was like, oh hey, that'd be cool. Like I knew I was gonna like make the playoffs. I'm like, hey, that'd be neat if Joe Burrow fell to the end of the first round, and then I quickly realized that's not.
No.
Yeah, QBs are just so hard to get.
I know. Granted, it was months ago. I was like, oh, hey, that'd be nice. Maybe I'll, but no. I quickly realized I had to get off that, and it wasn't happening because he wasn't falling past 1, and rightfully so. He's the best QB in the draft. So
yeah, well, he's actually my number 2. So
behind
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
I would I would have really struggled to actually not pick Joe Burrow at number 1 because I actually have Tua at number 1 still, despite the injury. I still think he's the better QB.
Right.
And longer track record of seeing him do it. He did it for 2.5 years. Yeah, he had a couple ankle surgeries. I think he did the tightrope ankle surgeries on both ankles.
Yes, he did.
And then also obviously that major hit.
On I saw what's his name, David Chow on Twitter, the sports doctor. He said he had both of those ankle surgeries off of something like 71 hits in his career, which seems low.
Yeah,
But then somebody came back and was like, well, so is Patrick Mahomes, and he's only gotten 84 hits.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's all contextual.
Yeah. Well, most quarterbacks, I feel like if you can be coached, if you're in the right situation, even if the talent's there, but some guys just know what to do, but other guys, again, it all depends on your situation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
look at Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, again, you just somehow Mike Vrabel of all people got something out of him.
He looked at me and was like, that human being looks like a bell. I've been
I guess.
awakened now.
So the second pick, before I say who it was, I mean, there was some movement. So
Second worst team in the league was Anthony, so he had this pick at one point. I actually had it for a long time.
a lot of rumors that it would be traded to Tom, and it was.
Of course, because Anthony only makes trades with Tom. That's the only thing he does. So we're all joking the whole offseason. Can't wait for the second pick to get on Tom's team. You know what? Finally did.
It did.
A week before the draft happened, but it finally did.
It did. And I said I changed my team name in like February to This Is Tom's Team, hoping that I could offer a trade and have it accepted by Anthony by slipping up and thinking, wow, this is Tom? Okay, I'll accept.
But to be honest, I think
no
Anthony got a good haul if you want to.
He did. He traded 1.02 and 3.02 for mainly Juju Smith-Schuster. And then he got, forgetting the trade, a couple seconds.
Yeah, 2020 2.09, 2020 2.11, and Steven Sims, which I know, you might be a throw-in, but Steven Sims did show some promise last year. So
He did, but Washington drafted guys, and honestly, that Washington's depth chart outside of Terry McLaurin, that receiver is just hot
It's
garbage.
nothing, yeah. Like, it's a bunch of faceless dudes who we don't know how that's going to shake out.
Antonio Gibson at running back is
Running back,
Just
wide receiver,
classify
tight end,
him as
everything.
an offensive weapon and let him play. Let him play, ref.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then Tom has this pick, and minutes later, it's traded to the same guy who has the first pick, everyone's rival, Kyle. Which, in the process, he gives up a first-round pick next year, which could potentially be Trevor Lawrence, because Kyle might be bad again.
Kyle looks like he's going to be the worst team by a mile again. I mean,
Yes.
he takes Joe Burrow. How much can you expect out of a rookie QB, even if it's Joe Burrow's first year?
Even if he's great, like even if he's QB1, I don't think the rest of his team doesn't have saving. Which, by the way, so the pick ends up with Kyle. He took CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver.
Same thing there too. CeeDee Lamb. How much can you really expect from the rookie year? One, he's a wide receiver. We're a little spoiled with the wide receivers doing well that first year, but
Yeah, but especially on
Michael
Dallas.
Gallup there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lost the other guys. He lost Marlon Mack as a full-time starter.
He
Sure.
lost both of his starting running backs as
Who's
starters.
this other one?
Damian Williams.
Yeah, so I mean they're still
Yeah.
involved, but they're not full-time stars anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I guess I'll just, since Kyle had the first 2 picks, I'll just kind of go into we'll go into his team. Like, that was my big takeaway from his draft in general, was that he didn't draft a running back. And I'm not saying you have to at 2, but I think there's moves to be made so that you can set yourself up better, because you have to know after the NFL draft that, yeah, like you mentioned, Damian Williams and Marlon Mack were I have them as still his projected starting running backs at week 1 of 2020, but it's not good because they both just got slammed into a committee.
So
go ahead.
This is interesting to me, because my philosophy is if you're a shit team, you don't need to draft running backs, because by the time your team is good in 3 or 4 years, that running back's contract's going to be over. You're losing value there. They might not even get a second contract. Look at Melvin Gordon, like he did, but
True. Melvin Gordon was a first-round pick in our startup, and now he's whatever he is in Denver.
So my philosophy is that don't take the running back there unless you're already competing, or at least close to competing.
Yeah.
I get it. You're right.
I don't mind it. Luch, I know you were going to say something.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say, looking at his team, I expected, because you put Mack and Damian Williams, I expected his team to be slammed at running back, but he at least has parts that he can spot start. He has Jordan Howard, who, as of right now, is the starter in Miami.
That's true. I would pick Jordan Howard over both these running backs to start here.
I would definitely pick him over Damian Williams. Maybe not Marlon Mack. Return of the Mack. And then Kareem Hunt, which Kareem Hunt had a lot of standalone value because he was catching passes. And I mean, he's Kareem Hunt. I think he's like second since he got drafted. He's second overall in like forced missed tackles or something like that.
If Kareem Hunt doesn't get in trouble in 2018, what's his value today?
He would have been a first round pick in our startup.
He's still the Chiefs running back.
Is he still right? So right. Is he still a first round pick? Is he still a first round pick in redraft in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, because then you think they wouldn't have drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, he's a top 5 running back. He'd be right there with McCaffrey, Saquon. Honestly, Kareem Hunt could be third.
Agreed. But so a lot of moving with the pick. It ends up with Kyle. How do you feel about him giving up a first next year, though?
That is part of the philosophy I was going to talk about. So normally you don't need to take a running back because you take a QB. I probably would have taken, honestly, Burrow and Tua. Just take the 2 QBs. You get a lot of trade value out of that because QBs are so hard to get. And just build on that. Those guys both, you don't expect much out of their rookie year, and then you suck again. And then when you suck again, you know what? He's going to get the first overall pick again. Take Trevor Lawrence if you want. Or take, I don't know, there's a lot of guys.
But to be fair, Kyle doesn't make that move. He only has Joe Burrow. But he's still probably in a better position.
Yeah. I would still take Joe Burrow and then go next year and take Trevor Lawrence. And if you don't want him, maybe he likes Burrow and he likes golf together. He doesn't feel like he needs a third guy. Then take what's his name, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, take Jamar Chase. Trade down and take Devonta Smith and take like Justin Fields or something.
So I get it, especially if he likes CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if he really likes CeeDee Lamb. He's actually a Wisconsin fan, as you know, Kyle, since you might be listening to this. He talked about taking Jonathan Taylor 101 before he started talking about Joe Burrow. So I'm surprised he actually avoided that temptation.
That he stuck to a pretty good, solid enough philosophy for a rebuilding team.
Yeah, besides giving up that 2021.
Besides the trade.
I like it. But he would have never, you're right. He never would.
He gave up like a second, a couple cents. I know he had
a
bunch of stuff.
Tons of picks that were lower.
In fairness to him, not all of them were like useful picks. Some of them were like fourths.
Right. Yeah.
But I think though, for a team like his, those 4th round picks might be better value than what's already on his roster.
Let me see. Hold on. What did he give up? He gave up
2022-06, 2023-05, 2023-11, 2024-01, 2021 Trevor Lawrence, and 2021 third rounder from.
Those picks, and especially in 2020, could have been useful for his team. That's where you build this up. But maybe you don't take CeeDee Lamb, but you take a couple other wide receivers later that could build into something. And by the time they hit, that's when your team is competing.
Right, like 206, I think would have been useful. 305 maybe. I think 311 and 401. Aside from building depth, which, granted, with his team you kind of have to.
Yeah. And I think whatever depth he could have drafted might have been better than the depth he has now. That's really what I was like. That's like my philosophy with his team.
But he made the trade. Trade was over.
It is what it is. So he comes out of it with Burrow and CeeDee Lamb.
Him picking CeeDee Lamb, I still think CeeDee Lamb's the best wide receiver prospect in this class. And if I had to bet money on somebody in this class hitting a couple years down the road, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. That's probably the best odds of being the most sure thing prospect.
Agreed. Now, speaking of trades, moving on to the third pick in our draft. Holy shit. So originally was Joey, and then so he flips the third overall pick. In return, he gets 1.11, 3.9, a 2021 first, and a 2022 first from Skylar. So he can go up and draft Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. Now he trades 4 picks away for Tua. Now, my big thing for that is, and I think what we should kind of say in general is, draft picks are of value, but like we could look in 3 years and go, wow, all 4 of those draft picks turned out to be shit, and 2 is great, so wow, good deal.
True. But that's you know, a different evaluation.
Exactly, but also if Skylar came in 4th last year, he doesn't have that bad a team. And Tua, I mean, he's going to be the starter. I mean, how long is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to last? Excuse me. I mean, he may very well start the season.
Maybe half a season. Fitzpatrick.
Exactly. But if you're Skylar, that's 3 first-round picks and a third. Throw that offer out to Tom for Lamar Jackson. Just kick the tires. See what happens. Like, I think you can take that package and get an already established quarterback for your team and move forward from your 4th place finish.
Right.
Like, Tua might be a 10, 15-year starter, and that's great. But he might play out his rookie contract and turn into Marcus Mariota or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So like it's you covet those draft picks, but then there's always that unknown of, well, what if it's a bust? And I just feel like for his position, he could have thrown that offer at an established quarterback and had a surefire second quarterback to go with Kyler Murray, who's his only quarterback. So I get the need, and maybe his original pick was 11. He thinks he might not get it at 11, so maybe trade up, but it's a lot to give up, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even come close to the pencil if I were him. But the big issue I have there is, like I mentioned with Burrow, even mentioned with Tua, these guys don't produce rookie years like that great as compared to some of the veteran guys you can get. You can get a guy like a Jared Goff or a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, even Phillip Rivers, and some of the older guys that will at least be stopgaps on your team while you're looking for that thing. But
and honestly, Skylar trading all the picks, and he traded some picks. Like he traded his first to me, which we'll get to last year in the startup. But he has a solid starting lineup. It's just if he gets one injury, he's done.
That's it. Yeah.
Like he has decent enough guys. Like he has Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry at running back. You really can't ask for a much better tandem than that, at least for 2020. And then
now on the other side of the coin, Joey, that was a great job by him.
Oh my God, it was when he offered up 1.3, and I threw out I'll say a bullshit offer because that was my starting point, and I wanted to see.
You threw out a lot of bullshits offer. Let's be honest here.
Oh yeah, please. Who I did?
Yeah.
Come on, what? Just because I was offering up Stephon Diggs all week.
That wasn't even some of the other offers I've heard about.
Yeah, well, I mean that's me throwing shit against the wall. I don't expect much.
Care for Stephon Diggs in this trying time.
But I offered what I would have gone. I would have gone my 2 first-round picks for 3, and then when he wanted whatever he wanted, I was like, Jesus Christ, does he have anything close to this?
He started asking for 4 first-round picks. So that's
yeah. He asked me for 4 firsts, and I said no. I'm not trading 3. I'm not trading essentially what Skylar traded. And then when the trade was made, I was like, okay, I guess he had something close. More power to you.
Well, compared to either of our 3 teams, which I'll note too, Luch, I don't know if Mike mentions, but you finished 3rd of the league, so we're the top 3 teams. Talking about why everyone else sucks and why we're the greatest. But
that is true. Yeah, see, that's why we have this podcast /show is because everybody needs our help.
I mean, let's be fair. Are we gonna listen to a podcast with Kyle, Anthony, and I guess at this point, just Kyle and Anthony? Are we gonna listen to that?
I
So,
might honestly listen to that podcast if it wasn't about football.
If
I would
Kyle's
listen.
involved in the podcast, I'm 100% listening to that podcast.
Sorry, I don't want to sound like a dick. Listen, yes. Take advice, not really.
Yeah, but good on Joey getting it from Skylar because those 2021, 2022 picks down the road, especially that 2022.
Yeah,
So like you
it
said,
might.
Skylar doesn't have much more than a starting lineup. When you're including guys in the starting lineup, you're talking about Derrick Henry and who's the starting his Saquon, but Derrick Henry, who knows what's going to happen with him? He just got franchise tag. You know,
Right.
It's not like he.
Though it does seem like
Julio
Henry will
Jones,
probably.
sure, Julio Jones will probably still be doing amazing things at that point.
He has DK Metcalf. John Brown was solid last year, but again with Diggs and Buffalo, who knows
not
if
getting
that
The
Yeah.
problem, yeah. Plus, the problem is he has Brown and Beasley. I personally, I don't like to double dip, except unless if a team is like passing like the Bucks.
Yeah, but now with Diggs there now, it's
Yeah.
that just takes away. Even if Diggs has like another not down year, but like if he has another inconsistent year fantasy wise, he's still taking targets away from Brown.
Which he probably will, honestly, because the reason why he was so inconsistent last year was because his average depth of target and his yards per target were way up. They were closer to like his early career average, where he was actually getting downfield shots, and that's like all Josh Allen can really do with some degree of competence.
Hey, they drafted Jake Fromm. Come on, man.
Oh shit! Oh my god! I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Fromm, please. Going back to the question of like valuation and the idea of giving up too much for the uncertainty of this pick. I will say, in a vacuum, it is all about pick valuation, but then you have to also, I feel like, bring in stuff like something like in my mind is you're giving up all this for an Alabama quarterback,
Not a great history.
the famed university that brought us Greg McElroy and Brody Croyle, which I know is like it's kind of bullshit. That's like, yeah. And that's like, I personally have a bias against Baylor receivers for a similar reason, because they never seem to pan out well. But it's something to think about.
Josh Gordon.
Could have been.
You never know, man. Weed's not a big deal anymore.
Oh, don't worry. If Joe Biden becomes president, it will be again.
That's true.
You won't be smoking that devil's lettuce around me, Jack.
Oh, man.
All right,
But-
let's
Next
move on
pick.
here.
Yeah, so 1.04 was Dennis, who
Stuck with
who
Dean
took
that earned
over,
it.
who stepped up and took over for Deej, who bowed out, and he took Jonathan Taylor at 4th overall.
This is almost exactly how I expected the running backs to fall from like until the end of the first, honestly.
I think Taylor has the best chance to go out and get just the most volume as a rookie. So I honestly think for that's just a good solid pick for that reason. Maybe not the
I like
best
Jonathan
situation, but
He's the best running back in his class. Sure, it's not the number one best situation, but it's still the Colts. The Colts is a fantastic situation, especially for Jonathan Taylor, a guy that can run between tackles.
they have a good line for him to run behind.
Great line,
Yeah.
good coaching. They have
Yeah.
a real quarterback again, at least for a year, and then they now can actually have like a mindset of building around their offense flowing through Taylor while they groom a new quarterback.
Right.
So you're at least buying into that.
For Dennis himself making this pick, again, he's probably not one of the better teams this year. Doesn't mean he's the worst team. His team is pretty average right now. I don't know.
I mean, for what
I
it's
don't know
oh, sorry.
if I would have taken a running back, but it's so hard to turn down Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
I'm taking it at all.
For what it's worth, I have Jonathan Taylor as one of his projected starting running backs alongside Nick Chubb. There just wasn't a lot there on his
Here's Melvin
roster.
Gordon. Is Melvin Gordon.
I feel
know,
like
but
that's gonna be
just-
like at a certain point in the year,
Yeah,
Taylor's
yeah.
gonna take
At
over
first, I
from
don't think
Gordon
he
in his
was-
lineup.
I know,
At
it's
first,
just
I don't think
it's
he
it's so
was-
tough though with Melvin. Like, there's two other good running backs in Denver. It's tough for me to want to start Melvin Gordon. I know
Whoa.
What I'm gonna cut you off right here.
Yeah.
This is a
Royce
Roy,
Freeman's not
this is a
bad.
Royce Freeman slander free zone.
Oh my god. Fuck you.
Listen,
Royce Freeman's done nothing. He's done nothing.
He's done nothing wrong either, so I don't know why you're coming for him.
Whatever. I'll end it there.
I just think three running backs in Denver. It's just not an ideal fantasy situation. So if I'm looking at this roster, I don't see a situation where I can confidently start Melvin Gordon in any league unless I know. But that's me. I need I know sometimes you have to take shots in the dark in fantasy in general, but for me, I like having volume guys. I want to know that the guys I'm starting are going to get their guaranteed touches, and I don't. Something like Gordon, I know he's a good player, but it's just the volume's not going. It wouldn't be there for me.
Volume
But I
backs
got-
are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But I get why you would start him regardless of his situation.
Right. Volume backs are a dying breed. Like
Yeah.
it's bleh.
At least like a 60-40 like share. Like I know
Yeah.
that everyone's going to be like a Zeke Elliott or Saquon, where they're going to get 80 to 90% of the touches
Right.
from the running backs. I'm fully aware of that and because running backs get beat up, teams want to keep two.
Oh, yeah.
You just naturally lessen the blows they take and increase the longevity. But three guys like that they're going to split carries, I can't.
Well, it could be like they're viewing Gordon as the Royce Freeman upgrade, and then they have
That's
Philip
actually-
Lindsay as the Austin Eckler style complement.
That's more how I see it as well, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if Royce Freeman ends up on another team before the season starts.
Again, it's also May. Like we do this we do this so early that this podcast might be bullshit in 3 months, and none of this might matter.
No,
There's
will be.
there's no
The
there's
podcast
no
will be-
might.
The podcast is going to be bullshit in about, 2 hours from now.
And then even all this drafting, like I think I mentioned like in some Facebook comment, like oh yeah, when the August waiver wire pickup is the offensive rookie of the year, can't wait.
Mm-hmm. The Jonathan Franklin Eddie Lacy wars.
Oh my god.
He posted that, and I got slapped across the face. I was like, oh god, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I know. And then
You have
can
an
say that- you
Ronald
can
Jones
say
feature
with-
wrong.
you could say the same with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, like from a year or two ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why is it always the Packers?
Always,
Those motherfuckers.
always. Moving along. So-
Proven by this draft, they're a poorly run organization. So.
Moving along, 1.05. Alex Hochberg had it. Clyde's Edward-Helaire, great value because I think everyone thought he might have been the second overall pick. So to get him to slide to you at 5 is pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. Especially considering he desperately needed a new starting running back that would be able to start and produce immediately, but he could also potentially have as his a cornerstone piece. And he got the best talent situation match.
Now I was trying to find like his other transactions because that was Alex Hochberg's only draft pick this year.
It was.
So every I guess the other picks got traded in the other deals throughout the year. But looking at his lineup, I have his projected running backs at Chris Carson and Kerryon Johnson just for the sake of for week 1. That's who you're starting, but Edwards-Helaire would clearly take over that spot.
I
Mm-hmm.
feel like by the time the season starts, it'll still be Edwards-Helaire, even if Damian Williams is still the starter, because
Agreed.
it's
Please,
gonna get third
yeah.
down work. It's gonna be better than Kerryon Johnson's third down work. Being
I have him as his potential week 1 flex next to Gronk just because of based on his roster, but
Oh, Gronk.
By the
But
way,
I mean,
Alex gave up his second round pick and his fourth round pick, as well as James Conner and Deebo Samuel. He gave it to Phil for Adam Thielen and Chris Carson back in October.
I mean, it was a good trade at the time.
Yeah, and
I just
then
think Adam Thielen's in his 30s and James Conner sucks.
yeah, well, it made sense of that. Like Alex was competing, Phil's already knew that his team was not competing. It was just an easy
Yeah.
trade. And then also, he gave up his third round pick to you, Lucho, when he gave up that and Robert Woods for Kerryon Johnson.
Yep.
Oof.
Hurt Kerryon Johnson at the time.
That was a shocker though. I mean, before draft day, you're like, okay, well, Detroit's definitely not a spot that's getting a running back, but then here we are.
Hmm.
And then here we are.
Maybe the time to trade. Maybe the time to trade. Maybe the time to trade happened, but months leading into the draft, that everyone was mocking them taking a running back. Maybe not DeAndre Swift at.
Yeah, but like a compliment guy, because this year proved that they needed somebody who could really pick up that load when Kerryon Johnson inevitably goes down in week 6.
A Bo Scarborough.
A Bo, but better.
Yeah.
Bo Scarborough's fucking. He's not like he is what he is, but Jesus Christ, he's a 20 rush for 20 runs for 60-yard guy.
Oh yeah, 2 yards in cloud of dust, the classic.
So. And speaking of DeAndre Swift. And we'll just do Phil's picks back to back because he ended up with 6 and 7, and that was our first twist of the draft. So at 6, Phil takes DeAndre Swift, and at 7, he takes Cam Akers for weeks, shitting on his own wide receivers, and then he takes back to back running
weeks backs. Shitting on his wide receivers, and for 6 months talking about how he loves Jerry Jeudy,
who was still on the board.
Mm-hmm. It was strange. I really thought because it seemed like the way that he described his plan to me, it seemed like the board was falling perfectly for him because of Jeudy being on the board. He had Jefferson available, which I feel like, being a Minnesota fan, I'm sure he was at least a little more peaked at that.
He brought up Jefferson to me a couple days before we did our draft,
I mean, I have Cam Akers as his RB2 for week 1. And then obviously he fucking lucked out with Kenny and Drake. Because if he didn't have Drake, there'd be.
Drake would move around the league a million times.
I know, but it's like, hey, whatever luck you can get. I mean, he has James Conner, but no. Exactly. You'll start the rookie, who's probably. I imagine I think he's getting most of the work. They clearly don't give a shit about Henderson.
I mean, Henderson was a second-round pick last year. I think it's too early to write him off to cast him to the Wolves.
3rd-round pick.
He was a third. That's what I said. He was a 4th-round pick last year.
But I'm pretty sure they.
Does anybody else smell burnt toast?
Did they trade up for that? Didn't they trade like 2/3 to move up?
Potentially. I remember that was part of the reason why they were talking about that they invested a decent amount of draft capital into him. Mm-hmm. That's the thing is. Lots of teams are run poorly, and GMs are stupid. But if they also apply the sunk cost fallacy to things that they do when it comes to players that they have, which is why you had Tampa trotting out Ronald Jones for 2 years in a row, trying to make him a thing.
And he sucks.
Whoops.
But look,
do we have any no Ronald Jones truthers in here?
I will admit, I think he could be okay.
I traded him away, so
I don't see it. I don't know. There's just some guy. I don't know. I just don't. It is what it is. I feel like I've had him on fantasy rosters, and then he either loses carries to Peyton Barber or he's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Lacking.
So then moving on to, honestly, at this point, I thought Nick had the 8th pick. I thought he got amazing value in taking Jerry Jeudy at 8th overall.
Oh yeah.
You could make the argument that he's the best wide receiver in this class. I know Alec you don't think so, but I mean, I kind of did going in.
It's extremely close.
Like I would have said, like when I was making an offer for 3, I'm like, okay, if I'm up here, do I take Tua or do I take Jerry Jeudy at 3? That was my if I get this pick, what am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And like I couldn't have. I mean, I ultimately couldn't have left a quarterback sitting there, but Jerry Jeudy at 3 looked good for me. So I mean, like I had him as my wide receiver 1 going in. So at 8th overall is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because Nick also, like, okay, so Justin Herbert was there, J.K. Dobbins, and then if you like Ruggs or Jefferson or Rager, those guys were all there too. But just speaking on wide receiver versus quarterback, running back, he doesn't need a running back at all. He has Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, even Matt Breida now on Miami. That's
some value.
Solid running back room. And then at quarterback, we could use a quarterback. So Justin Herbert would have made sense because he only has Rodgers and Garoppolo, but at least he has Rodgers and Garoppolo.
Yeah,
It's not
You
as
could do
depth
worse.
as some of the other teams.
you could do a lot worse. Yeah,
Even
you
if-
could
even
have
though
you could have
Garoppolo-
Phillip Rivers and Cam Newton.
Don't you have Wentz?
Who?
The Eagles' backup, you mean?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is back up.
Great.
But
And
yeah, I like the pick. I think it's a solid pick, and it
Great
makes sense.
pick,
It's
yeah.
hard to pass up on that.
yeah, and then for Nick,
About that. Nick didn't do any research until maybe 5 minutes before the draft. So
I was gonna say
We-
Nick
we
Nick
were-
got great value in this pick because he's never gonna do any free agent pickups. So
that's true. Because we were talking about a trade like swap, like whatever in the first, but then like when the board fell the way it did, it was kind of like we pretty much just immediately stopped talking, and it was like, all right, like we're both fine with how this worked, so we'll just make our picks. And then moving on to my pick, number 9, which I got in our startup draft. Which, speaking of Skylar trades, so in our startup draft, I had number 1 overall, which I traded to Skylar for. It was for startup, it was 1.01. That's all I traded, and I got 1.05, 3.05, and a first this year. Which I took Justin Herbert. I was thrilled he fell to me, and I didn't have to make any moves to move up and get him. So that's finalized that trade for. I essentially traded Saquon Barkley for Zeke Elliott, Josh Jacobs, and Justin Herbert.
yep.
Which I'll accept 100 times out of 100. But I was fucking thrilled because not at first I was worried our 4 quarterbacks going to come off the board before my 9th pick. Am I
it
gonna?
was a possibility. You know, there was talk of if Kyle didn't get that number 2 pick, if Tom needs a quarterback, he can
Right.
take Tua.
And then if Phil needed a quarterback, is Herbert gone? And then
Yeah.
if Nick needs a quarterback, is Love gone? So I'm like, am I going to be shit out of luck for a quarterback that
Especially Jalen Hurts, you could just be Jalen Hurts.
at 9? I don't. That wasn't. I don't think that would have happened. Worst case, I would have had the 5th best position player on the board. But either way, for Justin Herbert and because I was making whatever. If you want to call them bullshit offers, I was offering up. Only because Kyle said he loved Diggs. So I offered that up for 2, and then I was just throwing Diggs out for just start negotiations for picks in the first to see if somebody would bite. And then when I didn't have to trade anything and Justin Herbert fell, I was ecstatic. Since all I have is Drew Brees and Josh Allen as quarterback.
By the way,
options.
when I say bullshit offers, I don't really mean the Diggs one. Diggs for 2, okay, that's a little much. But I more meant when you offered like your first round pick and your second round pick to move to 2 or something.
Oh yeah, no. Of course, I knew it was bullshit, but I'm like, if someone's gonna say yes, let me.
112 and 212 and like a random 3rd round pick to move up to 102.
I think. What did I try? I forget. I think I offered Anthony for 2. I offered 1.12, 2.12, 4.12, a second next year, and Mostert and Waller.
Oh, that was actually pretty good.
That's not
That's
bad.
not the one I heard. I heard something way worse. So
I mean, yeah, at first it was bullshit offers, but then I worked my way up.
yeah. But I don't know if you mentioned your team too, but the fact that getting Justin Herbert when you don't need to start him now, which is
No.
nice.
No.
But yeah,
But I might next year.
Josh Allen, Drew Brees, you're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah.
For Drew Brees when he's gone eventually.
Well, that's why I was thrilled because he starts now, so he's an option. Not that I think Jordan Love will bust, but more and more like his situation.
He starts
really is
now. Well, I know Lucho's on my side with this one. But,
The Church of Ty God is now in service.
Yes. He could hold on to the job longer than you think.
Okay. Either way. Okay. Maybe by midseason. You think Tyrod Taylor starting the whole year?
If they're winning, yeah. Depends if they're winning. They're a good team. Tyrod Taylor, I would say, is an upgrade for that team over what Philip Rivers was last year. They
Well,
did
I think-
make some moves.
I think everybody will tell you that because of how many picks he was throwing, and they wanted
Well,
they
their
wanted
offensive
Tyrod
line
last year.
Their offensive line was garbage, and they actually made improvements finally now that Philip Rivers is gone.
And now maybe Forrest Lamp will stay healthy for the first time in his career.
Yeah, but if they're winning, I don't see them throwing a rookie in when you're competing for a playoff spot.
True.
Especially a year like this where there might not be any. I mean, there's already not rookie minicamps. What if there's no OTAs and
Oh shit.
Limit-
Yeah, you're
That's a
limited
very
preseason?
Yeah.
That's more where I get worried. I obviously in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow's going to start. There's no way Ryan Finley is starting over him.
No.
But
No.
you know, it might take a little longer for guys like Tua and Herbert
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, unless you just go like the Uncle Rico route and you just film yourself throwing balls and teams can't resist but to start you.
Like what's his name, Alex Tanney.
Alex Tanner. I don't know.
Sorry, New York Giants
We should bring
backup
back
quarterback.
Luch,
Yeah.
you're bringing all the names in this time.
Oh yeah, I have a whole list of names I have to drop on here before we're done.
They definitely they kept Alex Tanney over former third round pick Davis Love the third.
Rough.
Love.
Anyway, so moving on to the 10th pick, Alex, you got your guy, J.K. Dobbins.
Yes, I was stoked about it. I also got that pick. I should have had the 111, but I got that pick from trading the 2.04. And Luch, you're gonna have to remind me what the entire trade was.
I definitely got the next year's first.
Yeah, so there
So
was,
probably like
here we
210
go,
to
here we go.
212.
I got it. I traded the
Or
2.04, a 2021 first, a 2021 fourth, and Phillip Rivers back to you, who I got earlier in the year, for your 1.10, 2021 third, 2022 third, and Deontay Johnson. So I love that trade. I'm a big
Right.
Deontay Johnson fan. Worked well for you. You got Phillip Rivers since Cam Newton. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But and then I also moved up in the draft, which was my main purpose of this. Deontay Johnson was like a consolation prize for me. But I moved up. I wanted a running back. Made sense, so I took J.K. Dobbins. You know, I have Mark Ingram on my team already, so as soon as Mark Ingram's eventually out of the way, then I have the starting running back of the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And that up for, I'll say for my roster, that also, not that I ever really put stock into Justice Hill. I took him with like a late startup pick, but that kind of cools any,
Yeah,
any chance he might have had to be anything.
Be anything, yeah.
And Gus Edwards, see ya.
I could see him staying on the team. I think they'd only save like $750,000 if they cut him or something like that.
True. I mean, if he's cheap, I guess. But sometimes if it comes down to that roster spot, you're gonna carry 4 running backs. I mean, I know teams do, but
Special teams, he's got to make a name for himself on special teams.
Yep.
yeah, pretty much. But either as far as any fantasy relevance, see ya.
Yeah, I wanted a running back. I traded for Joe Mixon earlier in the offseason with Lucho. But other than that, I got David Johnson back.
Return,
So
the comeback.
I had some okay, and then Mark Ingram. I actually had some okay stuff for now, but who knows?
Bill O'Brien being stupid helped your team.
Oh
Yeah,
my
who knows-
god.
Who knows how long that's going to last, if it does anything. Who knows if Mark Ingram's not going to do anything anymore. And then there's a potential holdout for Joe Mixon. So, I just wanted to get another running back in here, especially because now, after making a couple trades, I no longer have a 2021 or 2022 first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. But listen, your team's solid. So again, you're in a position where it's fine to trade these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Plus, you're coming
Like I
off.
said,
You're coming
you
off a
got-
strong finish. You know that your team is built to be able to handle that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Alright,
think
move
the
on to
only
this.
thing that doesn't fit that philosophy is the possibility that Dobbins doesn't do anything this year. Anything of note.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't really do anything. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that'd actually be okay for me
Because then you have Ingram as the arbitrage on that.
The worst possible situation would be if, for some reason, the two of them together eliminate any fantasy relevance. But I really can't see that happening in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Not with how much they want to run the ball, not with having the greatest quarterback for a running back to be on their team, especially with RPO system.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is just a godsend for any running back that's on that team.
Yeah, for sure. Solid value. If he went only because Dennis loves Ohio State. If he took J.K. Dobbins, I would have been like, well, that makes sense for him.
Yeah, but then in that case,
So-
one of Swift or Akers would have fell to me. So
Yeah.
I was
Right. So either way, you kind of make out.
Dobbins
pretty
was
well.
my guy. Dobbins was the guy I wanted out of those three, but I would have taken any of them.
If you got it, you're once again looking. You looked good doing it.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
So 111.
Luch,
So that was
you're
that
supposed
was
to come in and say, "Who's Dan?"
Who's
Yeah.
Dan?
that's
I
right.
don't know, some guy that sucks. All right, let's keep going.
So 1.11. Joey traded this pick to Dennis. Did Dennis have 2.01 and then he?
Where did
flipped it?
Joey get this pick?
This was Skylar's pick.
Yeah.
No, this originally
Yes.
was my pick.
Oh wait.
Oh, yeah.
Wait. Wait.
So
Dennis had it.
Skyler got the 11th pick, I thought, from trading that Zach Ertz deal.
Phil had it because of the startup trade where I got Mahomes, because I traded my 2020 first in that deal. So Phil traded it then to Skyler in the Zach Ertz deal. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, and then it went to Joey, who then he traded to Dennis. I think Dennis traded 2.01 and then a third this year and a third next year, which is solid for Joey. He moves back 2 spots and gets 2 extra picks out of it.
Yeah.
And Dennis jumps up and takes Justin Jefferson, who I was looking at 12, but I wasn't that upset because I knew I kind of had my choice of 2 guys there. But anyway, Justin Jefferson goes 11. I think it's a great pick.
Oh, yeah.
With Diggs gone, the targets are there, and someone's got to step in. I don't
necessarily like the trade to move up 2 spots because, especially with my board, I would have been okay staying 2-1, clearly, because we'll talk about that in a minute. But
yeah,
I would have been fine staying there, just letting one of the wide receivers drop to me. But I mean, if he really likes Justin Jefferson, go for it. It's not really that impactful.
Right. I mean, you look at what got. Yeah, exactly. You can look at what got traded. Like this isn't this isn't a Skyler trade where you traded 3 firsts. Like you didn't like piss away any like potential like. You traded 2 thirds, but I agree. Like I'm just not one to trade up because I'm always like there's always guys, especially in this draft. So like especially at that spot, like to trade up 2 spots, I agree with you. I wouldn't have done it, but it's also I don't really think it was an insane deal.
But the counterpoint to sorry, go ahead.
No, he I mean he clearly got his guy. He didn't want what else was on the board. So you do what you do.
The counterpoint to that, I would say, is you could say there's always going to be guys at any pick. Then that you're not really contextualizing the value of a pick, especially in a rookie draft, in my opinion. I think I'm trying to look up the hit rate now. The hit rate of dudes in the 3rd round is something like 8%. For dudes that'll be fantasy relevant for more than 2 seasons.
I mean, this draft class, you can see it a little higher, but it's low.
Dynasty.
Like I personally think it's like it's the landing spot too. I think if Jefferson's at like a crowded place, it's different. But getting to Minnesota where you're in such a good spot.
The only question I have with Minnesota is Jefferson, while he profiles as a guy that might be able to play on the outside too, he really did most of his damage at LSU in the slot.
Right, but with Thielen being, 30, 31 at this point?
Thielen's already in the slot, and getting older, it's probably...
That's more what it is, I think. And Thielen's been hurt, so if he goes down, then there's your guy to slide in.
But to build on that, if Thielen does not get hurt, I don't see Thielen bumped to the outside at this point in his career. What Jefferson's going to push the outside, we don't really know what's going to happen there. Also,
or it's another Vikings year where Kyle Rudolph gets everything and...
The thing is, they talk about how they want to do 2 tight end sets. Irv Smith is there, and when you actually look at the amount, I don't have the numbers on me, sorry to prepare before this podcast, but when you actually look at the lost targets of every team, Minnesota doesn't really have that many lost targets. It was Diggs leaving, but that was it. You still have Kyle Rudolph there. You still have Irv Smith there. The offense still runs through Dalvin Cook, so... when you look at someone like the Cowboys, where you think CeeDee Lamb, that's not that great a landing spot. Look at all those weapons they have. The Cowboys actually had way more lost targets than Minnesota did, if I remember correctly. So, I'm a little hesitant on Justin Jefferson. For me personally, he was my 4th wide receiver, which I mean, again, it's almost like splitting hairs with some of these guys, but that's the one thing that makes me a little hesitant, and that's another reason why I probably wouldn't have made the trade if Dennis made,
Yeah, at that point, like it's all just if you want to go up and get your guy and right around that range, I'm more okay with it because, like you said, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah,
you got to get whoever you really want, and I did find the hit rates. This is only through 2018. 3rd or late hit rate, at least 2 seasons of top 24 RB, top 36 wide receiver is 9.3%.
Okay, so I guess right, but that's why I'm not trying to compare the Dennis and Skyler deals by any means.
Right. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you get, like I just said, when you get lower down, if you really like have a hard on for this guy, just trade up a little bit and get him.
True.
The chances you
and
remember that in 2 years.
And there's certainly going to be some seasons where we don't have this deep a class, and like the 1.11 is going to go for a lot more because maybe there's one relevant guy sitting there.
Yeah,
as far as
the
rankings
borderline
go.
guy.
I think we just happened to hit our first rookie draft in an insanely deep year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, the list keeps going. So 1.12, that was my actual pick.
Before you go into that, I got the vacated targets numbers I was looking for. So, yeah, so I'm just gotta switch this list really quickly. Dallas had 11.9 vacated targets per game gone with the reason of Jason
Witten and Cobb.
Cobb leaving. Yeah, so that's 32.7% of their season-long targets that are gone. So, that's great for CeeDee Lamb to jump in, and then assuming like Jarwin, and they didn't really add anyone to free agency, right? Just like
nope.
L.
They're just. I think they added like one depth wideout. I don't remember, but yeah, you have Jarwin and Lamb are really going to be the ones, and maybe they'll scheme a couple more manufactured touches to like Austin.
Whereas Minnesota had 25.7%, which is still a decent amount, but that's more league average vacated targets, maybe even a high end of league average. But still, I look at some other guys and think there's better situations that you could possibly have been in than actually going to Minnesota and just assuming that Stephon Diggs is balling. That means he's going to take everything from Stephon Diggs.
Makes sense.
We can move on to 112.
Yeah, so that my actual pick. Now, I was thrilled to come out of this draft with a quarterback and a wide receiver. So to grab Henry Ruggs at 12, fine.
Right.
Would I have preferred Justin Jefferson? In my mind, kind of, just again because of the situation we just talked about, and I think Derek Carr is not that good. So what's the I know Ruggs will get work, but it's kind of like, all right, is Carr good enough to hit him down the field, which is his strengths, because he's just going to be, they want him to burn guys because it's Oakland. That's why they took him.
Yeah, because the ghost of Al Davis.
We've somehow, that was all I said when I drafted him. But look, to come out of the first round with Justin Herbert and Henry Ruggs, two positions that I needed,
that you potentially could build on too, yeah.
Right,
that's
they're not starting for me day one, clearly, but
obviously not, no. But
I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Ruggs versus Jefferson versus who I would have put in that tier as well, Jalen Reagor that Alex took next.
Yeah.
I think they all kind of fit the same zone of there's a weird overlap of situation surrounding talent and their given abilities. Jefferson's very he's a smooth route runner. He has a pretty solid quarterback, but he isn't a run first offense. Like Sape said, with the lower amount of targets that are vacated, Ruggs is going into a situation where he can immediately become the number one wideout. But he has Derek Carr. But he also has Gruden, who absolutely could scheme him touches.
Oh yeah.
And then that's increasing his value, is that versatility and of course his natural speed and his his route running and everything that's going on there.
Which I clearly hope. My receivers aren't I'm not blowing open the doors with my receiver list. I hit AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, and Stephon Diggs are who I would start week one. DJ Chark is kind of 3B, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it just falls off a cliff. Robbie Anderson's maybe my only other viable option.
Robbie Anderson, maybe. Teddy Two Gloves is going to get the ball to him.
Exactly. But it's so for that, maybe he's a starter for me later in the year, depending on how everything goes.
Yeah.
Look, it is what it is. I got to address my two positions in the first round, so if I had no more picks, I would have been content. But
right, yeah.
I was in a rare spot where I somehow won the league, but I didn't trade any picks, and I didn't trade period. So whatever. I'm sure that'll be the only time that happens.
You actually, both of you guys had some really good second half of the year pushes some players.
Second half, what?
Second half of the year pushes to make the play.
Oh yeah.
Makes
Well, I
the-
was
do
the
well in
sixth. I
playoffs.
was the sixth seed, even though I scored like the third most points or whatever.
Yeah, well, Lucho would have won the whole thing if he just scored one more point in the
Fucking
semifinals
one more
against me.
point.
But Michael Thomas.
true.
Michael
just,
Thomas ran a 7-yard slant like he always does, fucking 20 times a game. But we're not going to
That's
slander.
7 yards.
We're not going to slander wide receivers that think they're as good as Julio Jones but aren't on this podcast.
I'll let you throw that slander in this podcast at any time.
So that rounded out the
He's
first
just
round.
on my dynasty team. He's not a big fan.
He's just my neighbor. I don't actually talk to him. Yes, that rounds out the
That
first
rounds out-
round.
I don't really think anyone reached so much in the first. I think everyone kind of like there wasn't like a yeesh, why'd you do that pick that I saw pick wise.
Not really, yeah.
We can question the moves made to get picks, but the actual picks themselves, I don't
Yep.
think anyone really like.
I agree.
Yeah, in a vacuum, all the picks seem like, yeah, that's about where I would put them.
Right. Round 2 is a little different, in my opinion. When we
Mike, I'm
get
just
there,
going to bring this up now. I know there was a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about on this podcast, but you might want to speed through.
oh
round-
yeah, I'm not taking a fucking hour to go through the rest of this.
And we shouldn't bring up the teams. We'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah, that's fine. We
Yeah.
need something else to we need something else to kill to do another podcast. We're
Yeah.
gonna have nothing for a
Yeah.
while. All right, so round 2, 2.01. Jalen Rager, you traded up 2 spots to get this.
I traded into that pick completely. I actually didn't have any more.
Oh, I
draft-
thought you. Never mind. I thought you.
I had a
never mind.
6th pick of the 4th round left. Otherwise, I traded completely into it. I gave up a 2022 first round pick, the 4.06, and $25 of blind bidding.
Yeah, that was it.
For a $200 budget to move up. Joey just asked to throw in some blind bidding. And I was like, "Oh, what do you want? $25?" He goes, "Send it over." All right,
So
$25.
you get what was your wide receiver 3 pretty much on your board.
He was actually my wide receiver too. I had Jerry Judy. I love Jalen Rager.
Oh, Jalen Rager. I think Jalen Rager at your pick might honestly be my favorite value in the draft. Maybe Brandon Ayuk to fill, but
That's the reason why I traded into this. I was not expecting to trade into another pick, but the fact that we hit the 201, Jalen Rager was still there after I saw Jefferson and Ruggs go, who I had both behind him. I was like, I liked this guy the whole time. I wasn't expecting to get him. I actually thought originally I might have been able to get him with my 4th pick of the second before I traded that. So a little bit of time after I traded that to you, Luch, I was like, it sucks. I'm not going to get Rager. I really like this guy. But so I had to do the trade when it was available. I just
Listen, it's great value. I mean,
Yeah, I
It's
just
essentially it's a I think in another year he's probably top of the first round.
Oh yeah, the way I look at it in college, all these wide receivers that were taken before him in our draft specifically, CeeDee Lamb had Kyler Murray and then had Jalen Hurts throwing to him. Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs both had Tua throwing to him, or Jalen Hurts throwing to him.
plus they had 2 other future NFL stars taking attention off
Yep.
of them.
Justin Jefferson had Joe Burrow and probably one of the greatest wide receiver prospects into the league over the past couple of years, taking attention away from him with
Yep.
Jamar Chase. So the fact that all this was going on and Jalen Rager was at TCU and I couldn't even tell you who his quarterback was. It was just,
Wait. Well, let's
team was
look at
miserable.
TCU quarterback.
God, change over, dude. It might have changed doing this year. Who knows?
Who is the starting quarterback for TCU today? His name is Alex Delton.
So Andy Dalton.
Alex Delton beat out who? Dugan?
Oh, Doug and Dugan. Yeah, I knew that guy. I've heard his name before. Kansas State transfer. That's who it is.
K-State.
He only got. This is the first time I've heard his name because I didn't really pay that much attention to TCU. So I'm just accrediting it to the fact that he sounds like Andy Dalton. That's why they.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And the fact that Jalen Rager is producing with Andy Dalton, and I think his what is he like? He's 20.4 or something crazy like that right now. you're basically you drafted a wide receiver and you got a free year of age equity on him.
Yeah.
With
and
it.
Once again, I don't have the numbers on me, but I've seen these numbers. His catchable targets were so much farther behind all of these other wide receivers. So now you pair him with Carson Wentz, the Eagles. That makes a lot better situation, especially.
Well, is it Carson Wentz? Well,
Jalen Hurts. So even Jalen Hurts makes a way better situation.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. So even with Alshon Jeffrey still there, they don't do the same thing. Maybe Deshaun Jackson limits him a little bit in year one, but even so, I think I even saw the expectation going into the year is that Rager's going to be starting in the slot, while Deshaun Jackson's on the outside, and then someone on the other outside, whether that be Alshon Jeffrey,
Marquise Goodwin,
side, Marquise Goodwin, yeah.
Maybe I think what they would do
I think Marquise Goodwin is Deshaun Jackson insurance.
I think so too. I agree with that. I think I read recently that they were going to try and weren't they going to try and put JJW more in the slot and try and reteach him big slot and have Jalen Reagor more on the outside?
But who knows what they're going to plan to do with him, because he might do nothing if he did it for a year. So, but I love the pick. I'm happy about it. I think Reagor does give some kind of production this year. He probably, with Jefferson, I would say has the best shot at being rookie of the year out of all the wide receivers. So
he's definitely in a situation to do it.
On my team, especially too, where I have Michael Thomas, I have DeAndre Hopkins, I have Keenan Allen as my 3 starting wide receivers, and then I still have Edelman. I have Deontay Johnson. This guy, it's not someone I need production year one out of. He's
right.
Just love, and I would love to have him on my team. So the way I saw it, 2022 first, I'm moving 2 years forward, giving up a random 4th and some blind bidding dollars. I'll do that deal all day, even if it wasn't Reagor.
Right. No, it was a solid trade to move up, get your guy, especially if you think if it's going to drop off after Reagor, then again you definitely just jump up, do what you got to do. But move past it. 2.02. We had Tom's first pick. He took Keyshawn Vaughn, Tampa Bay. Is he going to beat out Ronald Jones?
I hate this, but I don't know.
Tom was in love with the guy. We were playing golf when you made your pick, and Tom was like, "Better not fucking take Vaughn."
Oh no, I was on that chat with you, and he immediately was talking about that, and I immediately told him, I was like, "Hey man, I'm not taking Keyshawn Vaughn. You don't have to worry about it." That's when I knew I was taking Reagor 99%, but I was having some second thoughts about Michael Pittman and T. Higgins. So
right.
But
Keyshawn
Vaughn, I like him.
Oh, yeah.
I like Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't know if he beats out Ronald Jones to get that job, but the one thing that Keyshawn Vaughn does do well that Ronald Jones is not good at is pass protection. And with Tom Brady there,
you need it.
It might just be a given that Keyshawn Vaughn steals the field more, even if he's not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and Tom needed. If there was one position, you never know. He has Leonard Fournette.
If there was one position, he needed a quarterback, but.
He clearly didn't like Jordan Love enough, which, we'll get to. So then that leads us into 2.03. Joey finally actually keeping a pick and making it. He took Denzel Mims of the Jets. Jet fan picking a Jet player. Surprise, surprise.
Lucha, what do you think of Denzel Mims? I don't think I've talked to you about that. Oh, Lucha, no longer there. All right, Mike, what do you think of Denzel Mims?
Honestly, it's one of those things where I just forget take away who the player is and where he is. He's on the Jets, who desperately needed receivers, so there's going to be targets for him.
Yeah, and
I think the Jets upgraded the offensive line, so Darnold just have more time to throw. So that in theory would make him better. So yeah. I mean, it's fine for 2.03. Denzel Mims is fine.
You also got
negatives.
Sorry, go ahead. No, please, I insist.
Okay, well, one of the negatives is, he's going to an Adam Gase system, which
yes, that was exactly what I was going to say.
But the thing I see with that is Adam Gase is terrible. The Jets saw he was terrible before. If he's terrible again this year, I think he's getting fired. So, by the time Denzel Mims is playing the majority of his career, it won't be with Adam Gase. And if he is with Adam Gase, that means that Adam Gase did something miraculous to keep his job, and Denzel Mims is probably doing very well with Adam Gase.
Adam Gase has illicit photographs of Joe Douglas, and that's why he's still employed with the Jets.
I I think Joe Douglas just doesn't feel like searching for a head coach yet.
I know. That whole thing last year. I've never seen a team hire the coach, keep the GM, let him draft and go through free agency, and then fire the GM, and then go, hey, we're going to bring Joe Douglas in and go, okay, here you go, but you can't do anything for a year.
You're on probation.
Very strange at the time.
And your head coach was the GM for 2 weeks, so have fun listening to him. He has all the power now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I get the rift with the whole like, oh, why'd you sign Le'Veon Bell? Why'd you do all these moves? I wouldn't have done that. And so I get the friction, but it's just such a weird. Still seems weird. Like I feel like just let them play out the year and then have a fresh start. But if the relationship is that awful, I guess you got to just end it. But it's just insane to me. But either way, here we are. But either way, we'll see if Gase is still here in 2021. But that brings us to 2.04. Lucho, your first pick.
My first pick of the draft.
I love it.
This one, I like it. I was deliberating between Michael Pittman and Laviska Shenault. Those were my top two guys left.
If I remember correctly, we ate at Chili's months ago, and you brought up Laviska Shenault as one of the guys that you were interested in. So I'm not surprised that you were thinking about that.
Yep. He, especially down there. But first off, I was getting very hyped for Denzel Mims, and as soon as I saw Joey snipe me, I was really fucking pissed. But honestly, I think Pittman won based on the situation. I think Chenault's in a decent enough offense. Gardner Minshew didn't look awful, and Jay Gruden, he's a good enough OC that he could probably stick around there for a couple of years, and he's going to be good for the passing game. But Shenault also has other good wide receivers to contend with. Pittman's got T.Y. Hilton, who's going to be out the door next year, maybe.
Long for the tooth there, yeah.
Yeah, he's already almost. I think he is 31. He's almost 31.
And hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah. And then you have Paris Campbell, who's not going to take over for Pittman. He'll step into the T.Y. Hilton role if he's develops properly.
I would think that he actually stays at least while Rivers is there in the slot and be the Keenan Allen.
Oh, yeah, probably. But
if you can stay healthy, too.
Wait, Rivers is, isn't he like, not Iron Man, but he's got a good consecutive starts.
I was talking about Campbell, not Rivers.
Oh.
Sure, Rivers will stay healthy because he's not going to get touched behind that offensive line.
Yeah, the only ones that can touch him are his 50 children. I'm just hoping that he can develop into a decent enough option. Like, I think the key that really pushed me over was Frank Reich gushing over him in public about saying he was the next Vincent Jackson, which is bullshit. But if the coach is in love with you like that, he's going to give you opportunities to do what you can do. And while Laviska Shenault looked, at times, watching highlights of him, looked like Julio Jones in Alabama, he's also raw and was playing in Colorado. So I think he's got the injuries, yeah.
Injury concerns, yeah.
Right. But yeah, that's how I feel. Thank you.
All right, keep the second round going. So finally, we had the fourth quarterback go off the board. Dennis took Jordan Love at 2.05. I mean, he's decent enough at quarterback. Dennis is. I mean, he traded Dak Prescott in the offseason.
He likes Jordan Love. He was talking a lot about Jordan Love and really talking about, even saying at one point, which I think this was bullshit when he was talking to me, but he said he was even considering taking Jordan Love at the fourth pick. That's how much he loved him. Which would have been crazy. I still even think, to be honest, I think this fifth pick of the second round is too early for Jordan Love. But
because he's not playing for 2 years minimum. I don't care what you say about Rodgers potentially wanting out. I think he sticks around for another year or two, and then maybe gets traded, cut, whatever the hell. I forget what his contract deal is.
Oh, his contract is untouchable for the next 2 years.
He can be cut after 2021.
Okay, because that was like the first thing I looked up. I knew it was 2021, so 2 more seasons essentially. But I mean, he has Daniel Jones, he has Ryan Tannehill, he has Tom Brady at least for this year, so he's in a good spot to have a guy wait for 2 years. And again, if it came down to it and Jordan Love was the only quarterback available at ninth overall, I would have taken him.
Just because of that's the way Superflex is. That's the lay of the land.
Yeah, because everyone after him, it is what it is. It was to the my debate was, I don't think he'll last until 12, so let me just take him at 9, so I don't miss out on some quarterback this year that I need. So, again, it's all about how teams value individual guys. That's really you could sure, maybe it's early, maybe it's late, but fuck it, if a team needs it, sure.
Yep.
But so that got all the first round quarterbacks off of our board. So then 2.06 T Higgins, great spot for that. Yep. I mean, if you figure for Cincinnati, I mean, he's going to be the top receiver. AJ Green's going to be gone. You'll have Tyler Boyd, so wide receiver 2 for T Higgins at some point.
I was going to say, we're assuming T Higgins is going to be the top receiver. If, let's say, middle of the road development, would he eventually be able to beat out Tyler Boyd?
Possibly. That's why I say wide receiver 2, because I think Boyd's very good. Question. It's just assuming AJ Green doesn't stay healthy or is just gone.
Oh yeah, we're assuming AJ Green isn't even in this equation.
Okay, at least, but for 2020, you figure wide receiver 3.
Probably.
If
Probably.
AJ Green comes back healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other guy is Auden Tate, who I think.
But I think again, that was just someone's got to get targets on a bad team.
The thing is, they also don't really have a tight end. They have Drew Sample. They have.
Do they still have Uzoma? Yeah.
Yeah. So there could be a lot of 4 wide receiver sets out there, especially in Zach Taylor.
Oh yeah, Zach Taylor. True.
He's following while he was in LA. That's all they did. It's not like really that was the Sean McVay system where he used tight ends like he did in Washington or like he did at the end of last year.
Yeah, but again, we're getting to the point where it's all just it remains to be seen.
Oh yeah.
So 2.07, your other guy who you were debating, Laviska Shenault, goes to Kyle.
We talked thoroughly about him already.
Yeah, so I mean, again, if you were going to take him at 2.04, 2.07, the value's fine. So then we get, so Nick pulls the trigger at 2.08 and grabs Jalen Hurts. Overpicked, underpicked. I thought maybe a little overpicked, but for the value. But Nick also just needs a body at quarterback.
Yeah, especially considering Nick was not going to end up trading back up to get anybody. I think Hurts would have been gone by his next pick.
Agreed. Yeah.
Oh, he 100% would have.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Jalen Hurts coming in the draft. It sucks kind of that he went to Philadelphia because the way he was going to work out is if he went somewhere where the coach was going to change their entire system to build around him, like how Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson. It kind of sucks, but at the same time, I mean, Wentz, who knows if he can stay healthy.
I know, we've seen Wentz. We've seen this how many times with Wentz. Literally, he again couldn't play a playoff game this past season.
Nope.
So. Yeah. Although that was a little bullshit. That was a concussion. I'll give him that one. It wasn't like he just hurt an ankle again.
Yeah, but
still hurt.
You get a concussion, it's more likely to get one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
get one again.
It's prescriptive.
Right. So that backup quarterback spot in Philadelphia is very valuable. So I could see why Philly did draft him. And if they're going to use him like Taysom Hill, then there's some value at least for.
Yep.
I can't stand Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. The heir apparent.
All that bullshit. Taysom Hill is the next franchise quarterback guy was trash from a couple months ago. I was done hearing about it. And the fact was
it's still happening.
He's going to make $16 million essentially this year. It's insane.
He's the next Chase Daniel
for a gadget player. But whatever. We're not here to talk about Taysom Hill. Who gives a shit? 2.09 Brandon Ayuk to Phil. Awesome value again.
Love that
another
pick.
Team that just doesn't have guys at receiver, so he's instantly in the mix to be a starter.
With San Francisco, I wouldn't say that they don't have guys. It's just very unsettled past Deebo Samuel.
Right. It's like, I mean, who's
Dante Pettis is there.
Ooh, God. But he won't be next year.
God, I loved Dante Pettis last year. Sad.
But you have God, who else is there? There's him, Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd, I think, is in a great spot because he's the only big body that they really have. But Brandon Ayuk fits the way that Shanahan wants to run that offense so perfectly that it's I think he ended up overall in the best situation long term, like thinking 3 years out.
Then again, remains to be seen. But again, I think at this point, maybe we're looking at, like, as far as just May rankings, the last guy that might have a ton of value this year, potential.
Yes.
Just looking at the draft board.
Yeah.
I think the rest of these look like shots in the dark. We finally got to Anthony's first draft picks, and he at 2.10 he took Jacob Eason, and at 2.11 he took Zach Moss. So I'll start with the Zach Moss pick because I think there were other guys he could have potentially taken. Like, Moss has talent, but he's just stuck right in running back by committee with Devin Singletary, and it just eats your fantasy value potential away, in my opinion. Especially with how Singletary was in the second half of the year last year.
Yeah,
I
but
think Singletary deserves to be the lead back, but I just don't. I just think there's other guys he could have grabbed.
right. I'll say I think that's not what I'm worried about for Zach Moss, because he, in my opinion, he complements Singletary pretty well. He can kind of just slide right into that Frank Gore role, which won't be super valuable, but he'll at least have some standalone value. I think the problem is he's in a running back by committee with him and Josh Allen.
That's also true.
Because that's who they're going to be using both of them as more like goal line dudes.
This is why I love Josh Allen. Not just because he's on my team, but for fantasy. Like, if the ball's on the one,
you have a pretty decent chance of getting 6 points instead of 4 from him.
Like, who's getting the ball at that spot at this point?
Yep.
So, I don't see that changing. But either way, so, and then Jacob Eason. I mean, it's not the worst spot. He's not in the worst spot because I feel like Indy moves on from Brissett, and then they can groom Eason to maybe take over for Rivers. But at 2.10, I don't.
Anthony drafted for need.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it.
Not
He
what
needs
you're
it.
supposed to do, but he did it.
I know, but it's just he had pick 3.7. I think, is Eason at 3.7, or is he off the board at that point?
It's a good question. I mean, if he really likes Eason.
I mean, PJ Walker went a pick before, so you maybe.
Yeah, maybe Eason's gone by then. So I don't know. I get it. It's one of those, but I think for me, when I saw it, I was like, wow, Eason. Because I was thinking, because then we'll get to my 2.12 pick. I took A.J. Dillon based off of if Green Bay decides to clean house, and then A.J. Dillon becomes RB1 next year.
He's got the mileage for it.
If they don't want to pay Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams, and they tell them both see ya, and then that's my assumption because they took him in the second round. A weird draft by Green Bay. So, I mean, I'm sure it's been said by everyone ever.
Yeah.
But,
we're not exploring new ground by pointing it out, unfortunately, for them.
Right, but so that was my hope with that pick. But I feel like, again, I think for Anthony doing it with Eason's a bit of a stretch, and maybe he could have just backed up. But it is what it is. He's got a guy, and he's got a hit. I mean, Eason will probably start at some point. I think if Rivers shits the bed or gets hurt, I can't see them throwing Brissett in a random Week 15 game. I feel like you got to see what you have.
Well, it depends on how they're doing.
I assume they're going to be doing well. Super Bowl.
They do have a good team.
They were built to go really far before Andrew Luck was like,
they were Super Bowl contenders last year before Luck retired.
Yeah.
I think what happened is Jacob Eason was at their pick in the fourth round. They were like, well, we need a young quarterback. Let's take him. Even if it doesn't work out, it's just a fourth.
Let's gamble on the traits.
Well, we spent the entire Friday draft night pretty much watching it at one point just to see where these quarterbacks going to go.
The end of the third round, we were like, I don't care about any of this. I just want to see if any of these
QBs go, because I kept going forward. I'm like, all right, well, New England's here, so they got to take one. Pittsburgh's here. They hate Rudolph and Duck Hodges. They got to take a quarterback, and it just didn't happen. But either way, here we are. So round 3, So you and Phil, I'm thinking, tried to trade with me for 2.12 to take Tyler Johnson. I know you said you wanted him.
Me?
Yeah, you said you wanted Tyler Johnson.
That was bullshit. I was still working on later trades, so I didn't want to tell anybody anything. No, I was actually going for who got picked next, which was Brian Edwards. But
Okay.
Yeah, I think both of those are
also good. Antonio Gibson at the time of the draft. I wish I was paying more attention. I really like Antonio Gibson, but I didn't think he was going to go that way. So.
I like Antonio Gibson. I don't like that he's marked as a running back.
So you know what? I like that he's marked as a running back. I thought that's where he's going to get the most value because it just reminds me of David Johnson.
True, but I don't know. He was one guy I was looking at. I was hoping that would fall to 3.12, but whatever. He didn't. Anyone else in the third round stand out? For me, it's Chase Claypool at 3.10.
That was a good pick.
That's good. Yeah.
I like the Anthony McFarland pick as well.
Because the running back situation's just I feel like you can argue that all three of their backs that are there are inconsistent. So that automatically gives McFarland a chance.
Honestly, now that I look at this is what makes this draft so special because I like a lot of these third round picks. I do like Tyler Johnson. I like that. Even though he's a fifth round pick, that's only a little disappointing part. I love Brian Edwards. I thought Brian Edwards should have been drafted much higher than that. So that's why I was getting desperate to try to trade with somebody because I just wanted Brian Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And Gibson, I like KJ Hamler. Denver's not the best spot. I think he's a good player though.
Yeah, I think the landing spot for KJ Hamler hurt him more than most people in the draft.
Yeah, Darrington Evans, I think he's a solid player, even if he just turns out to be the Deion Lewis replacement.
I mean, he comps pretty well to him athletically.
Yep.
That was my debate at 2.12 was Dillon or Evans because I figure both of those have the potential to be the starter leaves and then I walk in to be RB1.
Yeah.
PJ Walker doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm gonna move on.
I think Kyle just did it to XFL represent.
Van Jefferson, I think
rest in peace.
Yeah.
Even though Van Jefferson, I didn't really like him much as a prospect, and the fact that now he's in crowded Rams room, the fact that he's a second round pick makes that I think a good pick. Mid
because of the investment in it.
Just the draft capital and the fact that I'm pretty sure it was either Snead or McVay, someone who came out and said that they're comparing him as a hybrid of Woods and Cooper Kupp. So
so he's old and slow.
If they think he's a hybrid, it gives them the flexibility to let one of them walk. Van Jefferson takes either role. So Cole Kmet too. Even Kmet, this tight end class wasn't that great. We don't.
No.
I'm sure you guys don't really have much to talk about with tight ends, but Nick needed a tight end. He got killed because of Gronkowski coming back. He already was in a good spot with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate as two of his three tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Nick took the Notre Dame guy.
Well, Cole Kmet was the first tight end drafted too.
I know.
Yeah.
At least he got 3.8 is good value.
He needed
for
one.
that.
He had Tyler Eifert. That was his besides the other two guys who aren't even starters.
That's a good tight end room in 2008.
He just needs a body. So I like the Anthony McFarland pick too.
Mm. I think everything from 309 to 312, in my opinion, are good.
Joshua Kelly was great. Yeah, Gandy Golden, whatever about. But
for me, it came down to what guy might get volume.
Yeah, and he's different enough as a athletic profile and a body profile to most of who they have.
Yep, he's the kind of wide receiver that Washington needed.
Yeah.
Again, like I said earlier, it's McLaurin and then trash, so anyone can step up. Anything in the fourth round stand out?
Yes. To me, another guy who I was trying to trade for at the 4.06, Joey took big
Devin
play
Duvernay.
Who went to Baltimore. And Baltimore, okay, maybe not the best spot for a wide receiver because they don't throw the wide receivers.
Yeah, but
I like him. I like him as a prospect a lot. He's a guy that I really would have liked on my team, and I wasn't getting desperate at that point because I didn't really have enough to trade that it would have been like, hey, I'm going to give you, 2 third-round picks in the future to get a fourth-round pick? No, I'll let it pass and try to get Duvernay later, but I do really like him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was my other debate at 3.12. I figured, maybe he'll drop, and then it is what it is.
I will say, I do want to point out really quick that I was reading an article today, and they pointed out that Devin Duvernay could walk into, quote, the coveted Willie Snead role. Coveted.
I'll say I don't really like.
Hopefully, they
I
don't play
know-
the Falcons. Got Neal around there.
Rough.
I don't like either. I know I know guys that need a tight end need a body, and it's the 4th round. But I'm just not a fan of New England tight ends pretty much ever.
Asiasi.
Since Gronk, obviously, since Gronk left, I just don't really see it. It's just maybe with Tom Brady being gone, maybe there's a more connection. Maybe there's safer targets for. I'm assuming Jared Stidham.
I think we're still thinking Jared Stidham. Yeah.
And I also,
But again, it's the 4th round. You can't really shit on a 4th round.
No.
these guys aren't going to be useful early. It's going to be 2-3 years.
If ever.
Yeah.
I think
These are upside dudes that you take a shot on.
I don't hate Isaiah Coulter, Anthony's pick at 4.11, just for the sake of Hopkins gone. Maybe somebody can step up. Like I know they
Brandon Cooks.
They signed, okay. So that when he gets hurt,
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to be healthy to step
Yeah,
up.
Will Fuller.
Oh no!
And
So
then
when
also-
half of their wide receiver room is in the infirmary, Isaiah Coulter will get targets.
Yeah, and then
You mean
who else
David
is there?
Johnson?
Who else?
Oh right.
I'm trying to think who else.
Duke
is
Johnson.
there.
I will say
I don't know. I don't hate the Lynn Bowden pick.
I was
Again,
just
think
gonna
he's-
say Lynn Bowden. Yeah.
He's gonna be he'll be like hybrid player. I'm assuming he's listed as
He-
a running back, but
yeah.
he was a wide receiver.
He was not only a wide receiver; he played quarterback in college.
Oh yeah. Well, he needed to.
Yeah.
So you're saying when Carr and Mariota
When
both
Carr and
suck-
Mariota both burn out. No, but I mean, it just shows that he's got the versatility, and he
He's a
clearly has a
playmaker.
grasp for a lot of different positions, which speaks well to
Get
his
him on the
ability.
field early.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was also looking at Endo Benjamin. Is Chase Edmonds still going to be a thing in Arizona, or are we done with
Yes.
that?
Probably,
No,
yeah.
Chase Edmonds is still.
So then, all right. So then,
He was too late of a draft pick at that point. And,
Yeah.
you know, there was just so much negativity around him leading up to the draft. It was really one of those things where they just want another running back in there.
Mhm.
But Chase
And
Edmonds is-
He was a real life upside pick.
Yeah.
I will say, on the flip side to that actually was what drove my pick of Adam Troutman. Was that they traded up? The Saints traded the rest of their draft to move up to take him.
That's true.
So
I like him too. It's just New Orleans, like in theory, yes, it's a good tight end spot, but when Drew Brees is gone, who knows what?
oh no, I see. Like when it comes to places that are quote unquote good tight end spots, I feel like that's maybe Sean Payton has a little bit better of a grasp for that, but I feel like that's been kind of twisted.
Yeah,
when
it's
you
also
have-
tough,
yeah.
it's tough in general to project a good tight end spot.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
tight ends take so long to develop.
Mhm.
That could completely change. It could be a new coach, it could be a new team, it could
but
be
look at
all new
look at
players
every
on the team. You know, it's a
look
long.
at every top tight end in the league. Where were they drafted? It's like you
Notre
never
Dame.
Like you can never hit on these things.
Yeah.
Like someone like George Kittle was again late pick. I feel
Yeah.
like Darren Waller was arrested and out of the league, and then makes a comeback.
Yep.
Travis Kelce. I mean, he wasn't a top pick, was he?
It's
He
fucking
was a
players, so-
decent pick. The problem with him was off-field stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you look at these guys, and I don't know. You can say it
Mark
for any
Andrews.
position, but
Mark Andrews was not even the first tight end drafted on his team in that year.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
Also,
So,
third round pick,
again,
it's not like-
when you start getting to this type of these type of players, you're just throwing shit at the wall.
Exactly. That's might as well go with whoever the team paid enough for that they are gonna put the effort into.
I think
Yeah.
that's why that one trade Phil made to just dump two of his 4th round picks, so we didn't have to drop 2 extra players. Because at that point, you're like,
I liked it.
Yeah.
That was-
Well,
even though
like-
he moved up one spot, but so what?
but it's like, okay, who am I gonna drop?
He also
for
got
the-
he got Brandon Ayuk with that pick. So
yeah.
Which is
Exactly.
great. Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna ask you
well,
guys.
that's because Anthony thought he was gonna get Jalen Rager with 2.9 or 10 or whatever he had at the time.
I hope he didn't think that. I'm gonna ask you guys though. What do you think was the best value pick in this draft, or maybe just the best pick in general? If it's not best value.
Oof. Can I do a top 3?
Sure, go ahead. Dude.
Okay. Brandon Ayuk is definitely one of them for me. Because Jesus, almost at the end of the second, you're getting a starter that's a great fit for his team and with a great OC. Uh, probably. I think if you're gonna take dart throws, you can't do much worse than somebody like. I'm between LaVisca and Lynn Bowden, honestly. I think those are two pretty solid picks too for their value, and Brian Edwards.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go with. Brian Edwards is 100% my best value pick in this draft. I couldn't believe that he. I mean, I can't believe it. This draft class was deep, but Brian Edwards, I just really like him. I think the fact that he got hurt and didn't participate in the combine really hurt his stock.
Yes.
His breakout age is like 17 at 17 years old. It's insane.
Anybody reach too much? Is there like a worst pick you can even name, if you feel like it?
Jacob Eason pick.
Jacob Eason maybe, but I don't know because I feel like that's not even really a reach.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there, like I said, I feel like
it's
there
so
wasn't.
hard. The draft class is so deep that it's hard to call anybody a reach. But
Right.
I guess if I have to nail it down, it's Jacob Eason. But it's not.
I'll say maybe Devin Asiasi, but that's a fucking 4th round pick.
4th round pick. Yeah, you don't have to dark throws anyway.
Yeah.
Nope. I got nothing.
Which team had the best draft overall?
Oh, we should do
The
this.
Packers.
You mean our league? Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually take a look at this yet, but I do see that's here. Thanks for preparing this, Mike. Someone did some work.
Wow, Kyle drafted LaVisca twice.
Oh, did he?
Ooh, wow.
Amazing.
He must have disappeared when I typed it, so I retyped it.
Dennis Sape, Kyle, all had good drafts in my opinion.
I think Tom did well.
Tom had a pretty solid draft.
Tom has the most depth out of all of us now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably Tom's draft was my favorite. My draft was actually, I liked my draft a lot. It was my 2 picks. But...
They're 2 picks, but they have a good chance to develop into cornerstones, which is good. Phil's was solid.
Bad draft? Anyone have just what the fuck were you doing?
Anthony's, mostly because he was throwing picks away.
Well, I'm gonna say not just the picks guys had, the overall movement of the picks. Skyler only coming out with Tua and Dalton Keene, and now he has no picks. I don't like it. Yeah,
my draft was a little rough.
You didn't have many picks either. Do you have future picks?
Yeah, I have a lot loaded in the gun for next year.
I still like all 3 of the guys you took. So
thank you. I like Gabriel Davis. I think he's solid.
The fact that Alex Hacker only came out with 1 player is not good.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a guy that we think is gonna, it's a fact that it's a guy that we think is gonna intersect at need and value, I think saves him from being a bad draft.
Yeah. I feel like I liked my 1st round picks, and then the rest are all just I hope shit works.
I was gonna say I can't call Anthony's draft bad either because the fact that he did that Juju Smith-Schuster trade, I thought Juju.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I thought Juju was worth those 2 draft picks by himself, and then the fact that he got some other stuff with it too, just.
But so you figure the trade was essentially, would you trade Smith-Schuster for Lamb and Brian Edwards, because that was 1.02 and 3.02. Not saying Anthony picks those guys there, but that's what was on the board.
I would still take Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
Luch?
I probably would take Juju too. It's close there.
That's kind of what I think. Juju, going into the draft, I thought Juju was worth those 2 picks by himself. But then he also you got to throw in. What are the 2 other picks he got? He got 2 seconds from that. Did he get?
Oh, that's true. So, but you figure he ended up. You figure it would have been Eason. Now I'm forgetting because I think he got 2.
Steven Sims.
He got 2.11 for N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry.
Or something like that.
Yeah, so he traded another pick somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
There was, but again, it's
from a bad draft too.
It's my theory of Anthony does the like his Madden method where he just trades for the sake of trading rather than just actually looking
Yeah.
at what's there.
Because you want
Trades a quarterback for a wide receiver, then comes back and trades for another quarterback somewhere else, and just keeps making a new hole every time he trades.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like that happened with this. And he came away with Smith Schuster as I think like the only, and I guess he got Le'Veon Bell in a deal too.
All right, guys, we're no longer called the official League of Kyle Rivals podcast. We're called the Shit on Anthony podcast.
that's gotta already be a podcast. You just you hear Joey's voice crackling. Hey, welcome to We Shit on Anthony today and every day.
But I mean, that's kind of that. That's our draft. Somehow, would we take an hour and a half to talk about it?
Whatever, man. Enjoy, everybody.
The podcast took longer than the actual draft.
In aggregate, probably.
Hey, man, I'm going to just say cheers to the first podcast that we've made.
And cheers to the first rookie draft.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone can see the cameras. Boom. Lucha, you got to get a camera for the next one.
Yeah. I'll hook up my audio stuff to my laptop.
I was gonna say this fucking whatever Logitech bullshit thing I'm using was probably $20. Something. But that's that. So, I mean, anyone else? Anything else to say? Anyone? Because I got nothing.
I think we could close it out.
All right.
All right, we're done. We're done with the draft.
Goodbye, draft.
Alex, Lucho, I'm Mike. See you next time. You know who the fuck we are. It's the same people listening.